So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again to one of our monthly discussions. Skilling and skill mapping is an important area of work for us. And we've already been active in this theme. We have already done, last year, we did 2 panel discussions where we got important insights from the spec experts. And we have been doing a regional consultation series from this year onwards, in line with India and 75 celebrations and continuing the work that we have already done in the past. So we have already done one consultation focusing on the southern part of the country. Today, we are hoping to look at the western parts and seeking to identify what are the kind of practices we see, the kind of skilling infrastructure, the challenges and the road ahead. So we look forward to the interventions by the panelists today, who are being moderated by Sita Sharma, the technical officer from ILO. And the panelists today would be Mr. Bisht from Protector of Immigrants Mumbai, Ms. Bhavna Sri Krishna Chopra from CII, Mr. Jaykant Singh from NSDC, and Amit Saxena from Ambe International. A very warm welcome to all of you. And I would just make a few logistical announcements like all the panel discussions that we do, but we sometimes keep getting interruptions. So I would just want to repeat that please, unless you're not speaking, keep your mics turned off so that the panelists do not suffer any interruptions in between. And we do have allocated time for Q&A towards the end. And please feel free to drop your ideas and comments in the chat box while the panel is making their interventions. So with those words, I would now invite the Joint Secretary OIA1, Shri Abbagani Ramu, to make his opening remarks.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us on this special regional consultation, particularly focusing on skill mapping with respect to international labor market. And this particular regional consultation is focused on western part of India. And I welcome moderator Ms. Sita Sharma, an experienced land and technical officer in International Labour Organization. Mr. Jens Kumar Sao, my colleague in Protector of Immigrants in Mumbai. He's a practitioner of actually skilling and training our immigrants, prospective immigrants. And Ms. Bhavna Chopra Sai Krishna, General Manager and Head Skill Development, CII. And Mr. Jaykant, I think he represents NSDC. Mr. Amit Saxena, Director, Ambe International. And all the participants, including from skill centers, PDOT centers, POEs, recruitment agents, a warm welcome for this seminar, the webinar. So, as we know that the interlocutors, the participants of this whole exercise of migration cycle and skilling migrants involves from international organization like ILO and IOM until the grassroots level like actual training centers. So this is a massive organization structure which engages in skill training and training migrants. But naturally, when there is a huge structure ranging from international level to ground level, there is a possibility of lack of connection and miscommunication, or not miscommunication, maybe lack of a lack of constant communication about the opportunities available abroad, which actually the information goes down to the people who are aspiring to go and work, and also people engaging them in part of in case of training. So I think this is important exercise to bridge that gap and get contacts with each other and understand how this skill ecosystem in India works. And on our part, I want to explain that what MEA does. What do we do in 3 main areas? One is that creating opportunities for our migrants. For instance, we have skill.
ये ना थोड़ा
Am I audible? And any noise
Yes, sir.
disturbance? Okay, so essentially that Government of India, especially Ministry of External Affairs, sometimes in consultation with other ministries such as MSDE, enters into agreements for creating opportunities for Indian migrants. So, for instance, since '85, I think the earliest one which we signed was with Qatar, and the latest one which is signed is with Portugal on 13th of September. So this over a period of last 30 years that we signed about 10, 15 agreements, maybe 15 agreements, which covers essentially the Gulf cooperation countries, which 6 countries with which we have that agreement. Basically, so that will lays the foundation for all related issues dealing with the migration. So apart from Gulf 6 countries, we also have Jordan with Jordan, and in Europe we have with Denmark, and recently Portugal. And in addition to that, we signed a special area cooperation agreement called Specialized Skilled Workers Status with Japan in January 2021. So that is progressing well. Of course, maybe I'll tell a little more details about it. And the last one before Portugal was UK MMPA, and 2018 we signed an agreement with France. So these agreements basically cover broad 2 categories. One is focused on the one-way migration from India to the destination country. That is mainly focused on the blue-collar workers. That covers all the Gulf countries, Jordan and Denmark, and Portugal also. But the other category is mobility and migration partnership agreements. That is a two-way movement, not only limited to workers, but it is covers professionals, students, researchers, and it is a two-way migration, that is with France and UK. So this is what we have done so far, but the exercise continues. There are 10, 15 agreements more in pipeline, which includes Australia and Germany and some more European countries, and with Japan also we are looking at a bigger agreement. So that is what we do for creation of opportunities. And of course, in addition to that, our all embassies, consulates, in consultation with the Ministry, Overseas Affairs Indian Division, and work together to get the assessment of potential for the new openings. Because you know that the new dynamics, new migration situation, new skills required. So this is a constant process. So missions do get an assessment of what are the opportunities available, and we closely work with them. And this and also we enter into such agreements on the basis of assessment given by missions. And in addition to that, as you also be knowing that ICM is a think tank of Ministry of External Affairs, which works in close collaboration with both ILO and IOM to get the assessment of opportunities in various foreign countries. So this is what we do about the opportunities abroad. But in addition to this, we also do uh, training element in association with various skill centers involved in STC and state governments. For example, this pre-departure orientation training, which we give, and which covered by about 30 PDOT centers, 15 managed by NSTC, and 16, now it is 31, 16 managed by the states. So they provide the basic training about the culture, soft skills for 1 day long program, and that covered about 1 lakh participants a month ago. So we entered into online training also in April this year. So that is creating more chances for people to get the training. So particularly the remote areas, person need not go to class in a city, so is in a village, town where he doesn't have access, so they can participate that. So these are the things which we have been doing. But essential point I wanted to make is that we need to convey this whole system, how it is working to the common man, the migrant. So that is a challenge remains with us. We try to do all our possible effort, but I think that is still not enough because it is a huge country, huge structure involved, and a huge range from international travel to the person may not be aware at all about going abroad, but ultimately when he gets into the system, he aspires and he goes abroad to work. So I think that is the exercise we should know. We should tell about the opportunities abroad, and then I think the more information is available with them. And we would like to work with all the agencies. We constantly try to work and with all the think tanks and also the training centers, not only in the government, also in the private sector and industry bodies like CII, FICCI, ASSOCHAM. So that is what we have been doing. But I hope this inputs coming from you, ideas coming from you, will help us in improving our work, and we can deliver better. And also I request all the agencies involved in this process to make the common man, the migrant, a center of your activity, so that all our effort will benefit him or her. So with these few words, I wish this interaction very useful and successful. I hope there are some agencies who are working at the ground level like skill centers and PDOT centers available today, and they can get benefit. They should also post questions, and it should be a constant learning process. I think they should continue to learn and engage, and particularly the communication technology, email, WhatsApp has become so easy. So people can get the source of information, get the clarifications. We are open to address any such queries, especially ICM is basically two hands of MEA. One is the policy research part, other is also extension. So they will be happy to facilitate information sharing and exchange. So I look forward to the discussions and ideas from this event today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for encapsulating the work that MEA does and also highlighting the kind of work we are involved with. I would just briefly introduce our moderator, even though she is familiar to most of the people present here today. Sita Sharma has over 2 decades of experience in the development sector, and she's currently heads the EU India Common Agenda for Migration and Mobility project. Prior to ILO, she was responsible for managing multiple international migration projects across Southeast Asia, and the Gulf region. And during her career, she has been supporting grassroots organizations and regional networking. And she has also provided technical support to the government of Andhra Pradesh and Swiss government on migration policy interventions. So Sita, the floor is yours, and we look forward to today's deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Surabhi, and thank you so much, Joint Secretary Ramu, for laying those opening remarks. I think through the day, through the next 1 hour or so that we have, we'll keep in mind that it is the migrant that we need to center on, and I'll try and see how we can bridge that a little bit through the conversation. But just, to just start it off today, like Surabhi said right in the beginning, we have, and thank you, because I think I've been a part of many of these conversations that ICM has been hosting. We've talked of a lot of issues around skills. It has come up very often in the conversations. And we've talked about, the infrastructure, how the accreditation is going on, and a lot of that. So today, because I have, of course, a very good panel of practitioners with us and people who are really part of the skilling ecosystem, I'm going to try and take a step forward so that we can focus on some of the gap areas that we know are there in the system and that we need to perhaps plug. So of course, we're going to look at some of the skills in the Western region and what does the Western region bring to the country. But from there, look at how perhaps, the skilling system, this really expansive and agile skilling system that we have created, can be known overseas. There's a huge gap area there in terms of employers not knowing about this system. So perhaps and then perhaps how it is anchored in India. So when, Joint Secretary Ramu was saying that from the grassroots, from the migrant right to the top, how does this process get anchored? So I'm hoping we can, get through some of this in the next hour. I'll be quick. We have a great panel with us today. I'll just take a moment to introduce them. We have with us Mr. Jaykant Singh from the NSDC. He's a civil engineer and has worked with many companies like Punj Lloyd, etc. He was actually one of the founding members of NSDC and is currently senior head state government and citizen engagement at the World Skills. So, and he's also in charge of senior head of Africa partnerships for NSDC. I believe he pioneered the credit availability to private training partners operating under the market-led fee model, which has really been very helpful. And he's been a recipient of many awards in Malaysia, as well as by different states. He's in the governing council of many of the state skill, development missions. We have also with us Ms. Bhavna Chopra Sri Krishna, who's currently the General Manager of Skills Development in CII. She comes with an international business background from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade and has a vast experience in skills with having worked in NSDC before as well. So she was also with ENY, and her area also includes government relations, human resource development. We have with us Mr. Bisht. Mr. B.S. Bisht is with the Ministry of External Affairs. Mr. Sao was unable to join us today. So Mr. Bisht, who is also the POE in Mumbai, is with us today. He comes from having worked in many of the Indian missions. So he brings that great, knowledge from that side of the government. He's worked in Paris, Dubai, Bahrain, Switzerland, and also been working as private secretary in the Central Cabinet Minister for Agriculture and Water Resources. And therefore, he comes to us with all this work from the different countries, both as attaché of commerce and from the Gulf. We have also with us Mr. Amit Saxena. He holds a master's degree from the Rice University in computer engineering. He's worked with Baker, Atlas, Houston, and with Sapiens. Information consultancy based projects with Caterpillar, Mail, Disney, etc. But I think here Mr. Saxena is really with us as the head of Ambe International, which has been a very large player in the Gulf market for India, and is also expanding operations to new destinations from what I understand. So welcome all the panelists. It's really a pleasure and honor to have all of you with us. I'm going to, the format, I'm shifting it around a bit. So I'm taking advantage of being the moderator, and I'm going to throw a few questions at some of the specific panelists. Of course, please feel free, other panelists, to come in at any point and raise your hand, or just come in if you think you want to say something. But I will specifically perhaps pose a few questions to one or two of the panelists to start with, and then open it up to some of the others. I would actually like to begin with the POE, Mr. Bisht, actually telling us a little bit about the Western zone. We've, just so that we have an understanding of the landscape and the region in terms of the skills. So Mr. Bisht, can I invite you to please share from your side a little bit about, the Western region. I know you have a few slides. Should I run them for you a little bit?
No, I will do it from here itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead.
Respected Joint Secretary, sir, and distinguished participants, thanks to give me this opportunity to present the West Zone for this skill development program. Basically, West Zone is comprises of 5 major states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Goa. And these states, as you know, out of these 2 are having their own this shipyards, shipping industries, and also the oil and natural gas industries. So the most demanded, the people from here are being sent basically in the fields as oil and natural gas, where the main contributors are Gujarat and Maharashtra. And electronics, telecom, and ICT sectors, where from all the parts of India are going through POE Mumbai itself. And then we have the construction field, where the Rajasthan and MP are contributing. And in the hospitality sector, Goa is the major contributor, where the people are being sent to various countries. And especially at this point of time, if we say that basically they are going to Gulf countries. And then we have shipyard and dry docks. As I told, it is again the Gujarat and Maharashtra which is contributing. Just I'm sorry, I didn't start the file.
No problem, Mr. Bisht. You can just continue. We are following fine. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, sorry. It is something else has come out. क्या कर दिया तुमने? Sorry.
No problem.
So I will continue with my things words in the time our technical expert does it. So basically these are the sectors where the people are being sent, and now I come to the other things that from Gujarat, the major sectors where people are being sent are technicians, carpenters, steel fitters, mason, mechanic, and so on. And during the last years, as per the data last year, the number of participants are 180, 144, 105, like this, it goes on. And similarly, the data from Rajasthan is basically for the brick mason, steel fixers, tiles fixers, plumbers, and stone crushers, and these type of things are there. And Goa, as I told you, that basically they are in the hospitality sector, where they are going, people are being sent from there. So now, next page. This is a small presentation in regards to the data which clearly shows that the maximum people are on, not only maximum, the major recruitment is to Gulf countries like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, and Oman, and UAE. Now the thing is that what is the modus operandi of the people when they come for recruitment to this place?
Sorry, Mr. Bish, just for a minute. Sorry, Mr. Bish, can we just take a little bit more response to the skills in Maharashtra before you continue? Yeah. So I would actually we'll come back to your presentation at a later point. Yeah. We just want to put this out in terms of understanding Maharashtra, I mean, the Western zone a little bit more. So Amit, would you like to come in at this point and also add in?
Sure. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Sita. Thank you, ICM, for having me. And good afternoon to all the audience members listening. So in Maharashtra, obviously where we are sitting, Mumbai, there's a lot of recruitment across the board. As Bish Saab said, obviously construction and oil and gas and shipyard are big, but also hospitality, retail are fairly large industries. Nagpur, we get a lot of people in logistics. We also get people in oil and gas. Pune has become a real hub for us to be able to find highly skilled technicians for Europe. So, people working in the large automobile plants, large CNC operators, it's a really good place for us to get welders, fabricators. So anyone associated with the automobile industry, fabrication industry, Pune has become a great place. So that would cover most of Maharashtra. And of course, there's a lot of construction workers, masons, carpenters, steel fixers, labor that's available in the interiors of Maharashtra as well.
Thank you, Amit. Is there anyone else from the panel who has an idea of this region and would like to add to some of the skills? Jaykant, is this you would like to add more on this? Just to get a sense of, the region in the country.
I think most of the skills have already been covered. They've talked about, Amit is talking about the migration pattern, and here Mr. Best has given a very detailed presentation. So it largely covers most of the sectors what we are doing training also.
Okay, just as to add, actually, I was looking at some of the data, and I believe that between MP and Rajasthan, you also have you have the second largest group of nursing colleges, which also means that you get a number of health workers in this region, actually only second to Karnataka in the country. So that's, I thought, quite interesting to also know from this region in terms of the kind of people that human resources that we have in this region. So just having laid that out, Mr. Bish, can I request you to please turn off your screen sharing for a minute? We'll come back to it later, but can you just perhaps consider turning it off for now? Thank you. So if we just, moving from some of what we have in terms of understanding the kind of skill sets that are there here in this, region. I'd actually like to take this a little bit forward with the panelists. And perhaps, I'd like to come to CII and really ask you that, we have this great ecosystem. We have a lot of skilled people in the country, but employers have no idea of this. The destination is too remote to understand what is available in India. So what do you think we need to be doing? How does brand India and this entire skilling ecosystem actually get understood in the world? Perhaps if you could come in on that.
Yeah. So thanks, Sita. We spoke yesterday, and thank you, Surbhi, for inviting me, and Joint Secretary Ramu. We've met before when we discussed Japan, and I see Jaykant, and of course, a lot of other friends also around. And this because we are, we will think business, CI being CI, we will think industry, and that's our approach, whether we do skilling in India or we do skilling for international markets. The fact is that we must be able to understand what is the demand and where is it exactly. So to say that Finland requires for example, right now there's a huge demand for IT professionals. But where does Finland require the IT professionals? Which industry? And what is the specific skill set that they are looking for? There's this other, Sita, there's this other narrative about healthcare workers. What does that even mean? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to be deployed? What is the kind of skill sets that they will require? Because you're talking about, and especially when you're talking about Europe, then you're talking about much more technology than what we are used to. We are talking about much more higher level of skill sets than what the Indian skilling ecosystem is used to, the Indian skilling supply system is used to. So where is the demand, and how are we going to, and more importantly, how are we going to generate it? How are we reaching those employers? Where are we creating a brand for the Indian worker? Now, there are lots of points I've spoken about, but I think to my mind right now, the biggest challenge is that how do we establish the credibility of the Indian workforce? There's no doubt that there's a requirement for the Indian workforce. Worldwide, everybody's coming to us and opening up. The only thing is that they're going, and big thanks to the Indian IT industry, which has helped us establish such a great reputation internationally. But still, if you see and the screen is still on, right? Like, let's see what are the kind of trades that we are focusing on: carpenters, steel fitters, masons. What is the kind of average salary they're getting? Because are they fitting into the bottom of the pyramid over there, or are they going as highly skilled technicians and getting the salaries that they deserve? So I think what we really need to do very, very urgently, and most importantly, is to create a brand for the Indian worker, to show him or her in all the respect, as well as all the capability that they're capable of. Which means, of course, Sita, you will need to create a supply system accordingly. But and that what we've seen in the past 9 years, like I've joined NSDC in 2009. We are capable of creating a supply ecosystem. But what about the demand ecosystem?
I'd actually like, perhaps Amit, you want to come in at this stage also, because you deal with some of these countries. What can we do in terms of getting to that demand, and understanding it better?
Sure. So, I think my colleague made some very important points, which I'd like to re-emphasize, is that, there really is a difference in perception on what the skills available are and, where the large demand is. So the major demand continues for construction and oil and gas, which, may not be highly skilled positions, but that is where the numbers are. And, when we talk about lakhs of Indians going abroad, that's primarily in these two industries, and that's what helps provide the employment. So, that's something we should remember. Now, with regards to, where is the demand for some of these highly skilled positions, and how do we tap into that? So clearly, Europe does require higher skills. We think that Europe is a homogeneous territory with one language, English, but it's actually there are 26 different languages spoken in Europe, and every healthcare professional is going to need to learn the language of that country. And even though healthcare seems so lucrative and seems so attractive, and it's a fact that the age demographics are weighed against Europe, and they're going to need to take in a large number of people, but the language is actually the biggest barrier. And this is a practical learning German, even for an educated person, takes highly educated person is taking 1.5 to 2 years for them to get to B1, and they require B2. So it's not that simple a problem to crack. In terms of how do you tap the demand, so I actually run Ambe International. We actually still hold the oldest license issued in India by the MEA. So we've been doing this for some time. We also run a company which is funded by NSDC, where we are skilling people primarily for overseas. So we have a good mix of the understanding, and really our backward integration, in if you want to call it that, in terms of skilling people, is primarily happening again for those industries where placements are available, which is again oil and gas, construction, and hospitality. If we want to be able to generate demand for these industries in Europe and for further industries, we really need to be talking about marketing and business development in those countries. So that includes everything that my colleagues said, which is brand building, creating a narrative around the good work being done by Indians and their inclusiveness, the way they settle into society, law abiding, and competency, professionalism, and skill sets. But this battle has to be fought in those countries, right? We can't solve that problem sitting in India, in Delhi or Mumbai. And that's where, I think, some participation from the private sector in being able to join in some of these initiatives when policies are being discussed, maybe giving them representation, consulting assignments, pilot projects where they can open the pathway. So, the government, I think, is doing brilliant work in some of the G2G initiatives. But if you can give a little more representation to the private sector to help lead and open doors with specific clients for pilot projects, I think that that would be a big plus. And really, it's the business development. Clients need them, but the communication needs to be clear in terms of what is possible and what is not. The language, for example, is the biggest barrier in most of Europe.
Thank you. Jaykant, would you like to also comment on some of this?
Thank you, Sita. I think Mr. Bist was raising his hand. He wanted to say something.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Bish, maybe do you want to come in right now?
Yeah, please just let me first apologize that the page which has come to your screen was of my poetry book. And however, I would like to contribute in the sense that most of our distinguished panelists are talking about the highly qualified jobs in especially in the countries where the advanced countries. Since I have been the commercial officer in the Embassy of India, Switzerland, so I had opportunities to go around with the business delegations in various meetings there in some reputed company like Schendier, that I think it is, if I am not mistaken, the Schendier lists the lift company, which is the renowned one. So they have their own program of this skill development, and in some precision industries also they have very good program, the skill development they are running there, and they really wanted to come to India for this purpose. And I have come to know that already that lift company is having their institutes in Mumbai and in Pune, where the skill development they are doing as per their requirement, and which is of the very high standard. And but unfortunately, what has happened is the other, like the IT sector and others, which our colleagues are telling, they are qualified, and their only problem is the language barriers, which they can overcome because they are otherwise also they are very highly competent to learn anything. But the main sector where we would like to go for the social sector where we would like to emphasize on is that the lower class, like our technicians, like our welders, fitters, and other people, unfortunately, we don't have the standard of training, and neither we have the good trainers, and nor we have the equipments where they can be trained in those equipments. Nowadays, what is happening? A person who is coming for a particular job like welding, if I say, the welding person, when he is being trained in different types of shops and other things, and then one fine day he is asked to come and give a test at a certain place where he goes, and whatever he knows he does it. But this can work only for the Gulf countries where they can work on it. But since we are opening towards the advanced countries, like recently we have noticed that there was some demand for some highly qualified plumbers and a few of the other trades like welders, but we could not cater their demands since our people are not so trained, very well trained for this region. So I would like to request all the participants, including our SOCHAM and our CII people, to if they can do something, they can contribute in this regard, because they are the people who can bring all those types of expertise in India, and expert trainers who can really train well to our people to go ahead with this type of training. And the certification, third party certification, if we can arrange. And yes, from our side, whatever the best is there, we are doing it, but we need help certainly from all you people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bisht. I think that's really great to also hear and keep that. Mr. Singh, would you like to come in now?
Yeah, thank you, Sita. It's thank you for the opportunity, and I would like to say good afternoon to all the colleagues, my friend Bhavna there. See, NSDC will give you a picture of both the sides, government and the private. I would really like to appreciate, and we heard from Amit that government today is doing a stupendous job, especially the embassy. And we have got two great secretaries there. We heard Mr. A. Ramu, the Joint Secretary, and we have Mr. Damu, the Secretary, also over there. I think both come with huge experience, and they are doing extremely good work. Tie-ups, he just mentioned that so many countries they have already done. Last week I had met Mr. Damu. I also we have gone to Singapore embassy, Taiwan embassy, Japan embassy, Koreans. So there is a huge potential. Language, as we all see, and you have got so many of corporates working in India. Every country working in India, every embassy, they can give you a complete list of people working in India. But any Indian embassy abroad, if you ask them how many people are working there, we'll always have a fight to come to the right numbers. Whereas I have a French friend. You know, the French embassy has got complete detail of the kids, where they are, whether in Chennai, if they are moving to Chennai, coming back to Delhi, that sort of data they track and they update. So with the current understanding of MEA's role, I think they are promoting a skill. They are in certain countries they have started setting up skill departments also. One or two skills people are being put into place. I think in Middle East they have already started. They are in talk with other embassies also. So very soon we can see specialized skill personnel as part of the MEA in few of the countries. And that's another good effort which is relevant to be talked about today, that how they are working to bring in more visibility. Amit, you talked about that, we should promote and market. So I think this effort itself will help in precipitating a lot of things, because once you have a person with a skill understanding in the embassies, definitely they will start interacting with the local people over there and the local employers who are in need, local placement agencies who are in need. They would like to connect them and take the discussion forward. I mean, this is a Singapore model where you have got Singapore India placement organization or a partnership organization. So they, if you go to the embassy, they will put you to talk to that team. and that team then understands your requirement, they talk back to their corporates in the country, and then they facilitate the interaction one-to-one. So I think similar efforts need to be put into place and are being put also. Let's acknowledge that. We talked about Japan, TITP, we are teaching Japanese language. Many people have been placed and there are many more to go. PDOT, we all heard that is one of the exercise which we are doing, that pre-departure orientation training. See, we need skilled manpower, and we also need to understand India already have so many skilled manpowers, but they lack is certification, and without certification they lack the respect, and without respect, without certification, they don't get the due what they are supposed to get in terms of the monetary value and in terms of the respect. So standardization is required. Certification, understanding between two countries where they are going, that if I am a plumber, if I am an electrical engineer, I should be equally respected. My value, my skill set should be respected there, and that would come through having a mapped certification level. So that effort is also on with few of the countries. We have done with Canada, we have done with Australia, we have done with UAE. So that process is also on. Testing centers, we just saw in the previous slide that the primitive style of selection was you go to a testing center and they will test your skills and then qualify you for moving out to their country. I think we are having testing centers, we are in talks to set up in India itself. And that may help further for the drivers and construction workers. They get tested out here, jointly tested and certified. So that itself will also expedite the process. The Taiwan embassy, interesting thing, they said that Taiwan to Japan, they have got 100 flights in a week. And India to Taiwan, we have got 2 flights per week. So there is so much of potential. And there are, today they counted that around 10,000 students are going from India to Taiwan for higher studies. So the opportunities are huge. Even in a small country like Taiwan, they are looking forward. And they say that whosoever they are going for higher studies, they stay back there because they get a good job. You have got so many Fortune 500 companies in Taiwan. So my point of view is government is doing a lot of work, what they need to do to facilitate. So far as training the supply side, yes, we are, and we have the ability to set up world-class infrastructure, and we do have few of them, wherein we can provide world-class training, which could match to the skill set of any country in the world today. What we need is, the mapping part, as Amit was talking, where is the demand and where is the supply? Bhavna mentioned that, we should know the skill sets, where actually is the demand like. So I think with this effort of the MEA, the foreign country embassies, if we have got the skilled personnel sitting out there, this process will also get expedited, and we can soon have a relevant real-time data of the requirement. We are also talking to world-class placement agencies who can provide their requirement to us, and we as NSDC could facilitate. It could be of any level, any sector. NSDC can facilitate in training and mobilizing training and deployment. So we can assure for any job level, any sector. So that's the readiness today of the country. But again, India being such a vast country, the knowledge part, the awareness part will always remain a challenge. But with this type of effort, thanks to ICM, I think the stakeholders can come together and they can unify, collaborate more closely to take this initiative forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. It's good to know that there's going to be a skilling personnel at the embassy. I just wonder how that's going to interface with some of the stakeholders here in terms of, CII, private recruiters, trainers? How is that interface going to work? Because at the end of the day, I don't know, but, recruitment and placement is very much about relationships. Huh? I mean, I'm sure someone like Amit can say this to us because he's got all these years, but it is about relationship building. It does not happen on pieces of paper. It does not happen just like that. This is very much about trust, and it's very much about a relationship. So I'm just trying to understand the model. So if you have somebody placed there, and I think it's great that you have someone, because it resonates with what we just heard in terms of branding India, perhaps. And you have someone in the embassy who can probably brand India, but then how does that still translate into deployment? Because deployment will need trust. Deployment will need somebody who the employer will fully trust and work with. And how does that step then get plugged in is a question. You don't have to answer it. It's just a thought, it's just something to think of, I think.
I would just like to add few points to. See, we have to start somewhere, and government can bring in institutional model. I think this effort of government is to create an institutional model where you have got a person who can, who becomes the fulcrum for different person to interact for exchange. He becomes an exchange from the supplying agency, from sending agency, and the receiving agency. Obviously, one has to build up a relationship, one has to build up trust, and it will happen only when they sometime in their life can talk to each other, meet each other, and somebody facilitates, right? I think this is the job, and this is the initiate point.
Good point. On that, I'd just like to actually move on and perhaps ask what is the next point linking from this is, what is going to anchor all of this? Who is anchoring all of this? It is a vast ecosystem. I know the NSDC has a huge role, but like Joint Secretary Ramu started, it starts with the migrant as well. We need to provide support mechanisms for the migrants themselves, which could be all kinds of things really, but going right up till the employer and then having support systems in those countries as well, by the way. There are models of other countries where that support is provided very, very well structurally. So I'm just looking at, in our system, in our larger system, where there are many stakeholders, in your thoughts, and I'd like to hear all the panelists on this one, what do you think? What are some of the gaps, and how can this be anchored better? I'd be happy, maybe Bhavna, you want to start and maybe share any thoughts you have on this, and then we can just move along.
So Sita, if Mr. Bisht, can I request you to just unshare this? Can I share my slide? I just wanted to discuss two models that I'd...
Just a moment, madam. I am disconnecting it.
Yeah.
Thank
Is
you,
this
Mr.
visible?
Yes, we can see. Yeah, Bhavna.
Okay. So see, and I'll answer your question, but I just wanted to first talk about this model. And when we talked about, sourcing demand, for example, from the international countries. So, and this is again, like Mr. Bisht also mentioned, and Amit also mentioned, we're just not at focusing on the top end. IT was just an example. Even a carpenter to be deployed or a construction person to be deployed in a Denmark, he or she is not available in India right now. I mean, if it is, then we'll all, have to run a campaign to find that kind of person. But what we're saying is that if you really want to understand, and this is a model that we're working on very actively. We've spoken to Singapore, we were speaking to Korea, we are speaking to Denmark, we're speaking to Finland, and this is the way we want to go. We already as CII have MOUs with more than about 180 countries, and the MOUs are with the business chambers and the associations of those countries. Now, for us, once we start a dialogue, and you spoke about trust, because there is a certain trust that has come with the relationship of, say, 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, whatever it might be. There have been delegations which have been going up and down. And initially, the relationship really worked because investment came into India or investment went into that country. So I'm talking about Finland a lot because it represents the new, the European country as well. So the Mahindras have invested in Finland. They've created, this is the Mahindra Club, Mahindra people. TCS has invested over there. So there is a relationship that exists over there. And so through CI, we've done a lot of work around that. Now the trust and the credibility exists. We've started talking to the industry chambers that exist over there, and we're saying, tell us where the demand is, because you know where your demand is best. Aggregate it and get the industry to be there, but we'll have to sell ourselves, Sita. So unless we sell ourselves and unless we create that and I love to take that example of Mr. Amitabh Kant's Make in India. It was a big bang sort of statement that was made few years ago, that we're ready and we're happy if you invest in India, and we can supply up to that level. And again, with Atmanirbhar Bharat, that's the same messaging that's going out. And using these platforms and brands which have already been created, why don't we create a sub brand around the skilled worker from India or the skilled workforce from India? And then we're happy to, and I offer this as a service, that we're happy to engage with the industry associations, discuss with them, identify organizations, identify sectors where the demand is, and then happily whichever, and it has to be at the end of the day a B2B engagement when it comes to actual deployment of manpower. So the government can facilitate it, the government can be a platform, and we can start those discussions, and let there be commercial arrangements, and let the industry start talking to one another. So whether it's a recruitment agency from here, or or whether it's a receiving organization over here, and the chambers of commerce internationally are also very happy to help, because they are getting the pressure from their industry that we need manpower. So and they're willing to go anywhere. So in my opinion, I think so the government, if they would just and the anchoring to, again, it would be great if it was held under the aegis of the Ministry of External Affairs, because the way they understand and they have the footprint internationally to be able to host it, but just help us create a brand. So they sort of, standing like the big daddy behind us and saying that these are our people and we are happy to start engagement with the business. And that's how this arrangement will work. When it comes to creating, so language skills, for example, we've sent people to Japan, and I'm talking about ITI graduates who couldn't speak English. These were all Hindi speaking 10th pass, 12th pass boys who are now working on the servicing of Volvo buses. There are about 120 of them. And they were taught Japanese in a 6-month residential program. It was an N4 or N5 certification, I forget right now. But it is possible, and they were taught the cultural etiquettes. It was and Indians are known to be able to pick up language very easily. I worked at Maruti Udyog. It took 3 months for a worker from Maruti Udyog to pick up Japanese. It was not such a big deal. So it's possible. And the Indian child is also keen. And so this I see as possibly one of the ways to go, but Ministry of External Affairs will need to be it.
I'd like to, maybe Jaykant, do you want to come in at this point? Because I think the business side is bringing in what they can from their side in terms of saying that they have these linkages, they have MOUs with like hundreds of countries, I don't know, 100 and whatever Bhavna said. And can this be actually a way to bridge some of this, while we have, I think, a very good idea of having this skilled person sitting in the embassy, I suppose, with, in a way, the MEA. Just to pick your brain on that.
Answer is yes, single word. it's always good to collaborate. If you want me to further deliberate upon it, we are willing to further detailing and taking in a collaborative way to take it forward. What is required more here that if we have a demand, we need to have, today the technology changes so fast, the demand changes so fast. We need to have digital platform to facilitate or meet the immediate demand, meet the mobility demand. I think we are working towards that direction, that we will have a digital learning platform which will have all the features, right from mobilization to training, which will have LMS features, certification. We can do quick certification on it. And obviously, there will be both the opportunities for an employer to raise their demand and also potential person who is looking for a job, they can also raise their demand. I know there are many such portals, but a portal which has got the respect from both the government and the industry, I think that it will have a better value, better weightage, and it will facilitate digital collaboration, because whosoever has got a demand, whosoever have inked a MOU can upload the demand over there, and so the exchange can function on its own. So that is one of the area where we are trying to work upon, because it will be easy, quick service, and we will not lose time on thinking, planning, and taking it forward. At least there will
I'd
be
like to
something
hear.
going.
I'd like to ask Amit to come on this. I worked on a platform and I'm not so convinced. Go ahead, Amit.
So, Jaikan Saab has the G2G agreements in place. Bhavna has the demand in place. So I'm wondering what is the problem here, right? I would humbly like to submit that, unless you take in private sector players, recruitment companies, placement agencies that already have 40 years of experience doing this, this will be a long trudge. We've been doing this for 40 years. Some of us are already placing 10,000 people plus per year. We weren't doing skilling till 5 years back. Now we're doing skilling also as a backward integration. My request is, if some of us are given more opportunities, we can at least pilot some of these projects and bring them to fruition very, very quickly. And yes, the portal is a brilliant idea. I know that NSDC has created Swades, and I think it's a great portal and an idea whose time has come.
Amit, I would just like to come in. You are most welcome to share your learnings, experience, and do the pilot. I think it's always a welcome thing to partner, and we are already working together. But if you have better ways of doing, and this digital is only going to support you, not it will be an enabler for you, because you can also take your data from here, because you will have certified trained people, and if you require something more, you can simply put it there or search it out from there. It will be an open portal and everybody can have an access to that. So it's going to be an enabler. It's not going to eat upon or overstep the business model of any private players. It will work as a facilitator.
So I think we have a good kind of system emerging where you have someone sitting in the embassy, the business can come in, the recruiters can do a pilot, you have something coming together. But yes, Mr. Bisht, I'd very much like to hear from you. And I'd also like to ask you, in all of this, there is the migrant. And the migrant is somebody who perhaps needs a loan, perhaps needs to be taught, not just the training part, handheld in another country as well. So I'd really, yes, Mr. Bish, please come in, and also if you could reflect on this a little bit.
I'm sorry, but in the second part of the question, I could not get it because the voice was not clear. But however, first thing I would like to contribute in this is that the embassies are nowadays working 24 hours on all types of developmental things, and especially in the skill development sector. All delegations which are coming, business delegations which are coming with the VVIP visits and other things, and otherwise also being taken to the skill development projects in their countries. Especially, I can tell you about the Switzerland as well as in France, where during the president's visit and some other VVIP visits, especially in Davos also, we have clearly told all the stakeholders to just give us, raise a query with us. We will make a meeting with, we will arrange a meeting between the skill development trainers in their respective countries with you people, so that then you can understand their demands and their quality control. Because what exactly is happening, we have got some types of queries, especially in the precision industries, where the Switzerland wanted some people from India, because the workforce in Switzerland is now shrinking, and their own people are getting older, and the new generation is not taking up those types of jobs very easily. So they wanted us to contribute in that. But when the business delegation came and we have taken them to their the institutes, they have seen that everything was done, but there was no further query from their side. Even we tried to get in touch with them, that what do you think of all these things and how we can go. Then at least see, the government has their own types of things. In being the Ministry of External Affairs, we can give you the relevant informations, we can arrange your meetings, but but somebody has to take the baton in India to take it up further. So I hope that our all organizations which are dealing business organizations, they FICCI ho ya fir aapke kehte CIA and other people, they can in themselves they can do something. And yes, I have found during my tenure in different countries, I have found that we are very, very enthusiastic to work with you all people and give the necessary informations and necessary help to go ahead with all these types of things. So this is my saying on behalf of the Ministry of External Affairs. Whatever is there, all embassies are ready to help you out. Thank you.
That's so encouraging.
And the second part I didn't understand, could not get you.
I'm just going to repeat that. Sorry, Mr. Singh, did you want
the
to say
second
something?
part of the question, which
1 minute, Mr. Bisht. Mr. Singh, did you want to respond or say something to?
I was trying to respond to your last question, that what about other support which the migrants need. So we will very soon come up with a complete solution. We are working on that.
one more thing I would like to add upon is that, sorry, madam, could not get you.
So, Mr. Bisht, what I was asking is, what about the migrant who's at the center of this? What is it that we need to do in terms of, for the migrant, in terms of supportive, I don't know, environments in country once they are deployed? So just thinking about the migrant and placing the migrant in the center again. So that is what I was basically answering. And Mr. Singh said that there is a package, but I'd like to hear if there is anything you can share at this stage about what is in that kind of holistic way of, supporting the migrant.
Okay, now I got it. That the government of India has already given guidance that for which country, what is the minimum pay scale in which the person can be recruited. So that is one of the guarantee thing, because there are some, so whenever they do this, whenever they go for this agreements and other things, we thoroughly try to check on that aspect. And even our PDOT systems, where we are giving this informations from in seminars and in various types of our training sessions and other things to the people who are willing to go outside for work, especially because since our POEs are basically working with the recruiters which are basically going to the Gulf countries, and they are not very well versed with the conditions and their options and how to go with it. If you go find something difficult or difficulties, if you are in difficulties, you can go to the e-migrate system, lodge your complaint, and as well as you can go to the embassy where there is a Madad system, And in this type of things, all the mechanism has already been in place by the government of India and especially by the Ministry of External Affairs, where all types of these grievances and other things are being addressed and people are being brought back. This is one aspect for the if they are in stress. But while
Thank you.
going
Yes,
to
we
the
understand.
yeah, yeah, it's okay. So this is the way the government is helping out all the expatriates.
Okay, Mr. Singh, coming back to you.
I said we will soon have a solution to all the problems what are being. So you need financial support, you need cultural support. So all this support which are very much relevant for a person new to migrate and settle out and ensure, like even in India we do. Like if a person from Odisha need to go to Tamil Nadu to work in textile sector, they are being facilitated for a month or 3 months by giving local Oriya culture, Oriya food and everything so that they settle out there. So you have somebody, a supervisor who will be from Odisha, who will be taking care of all their, daily requirements, and they make them feel comfortable. I think similar services are required when we are talking of migration so that people acclimatize themselves. And during PDOT also with the MEA, they give a 2 days orientation program, but it's too short. You only get to know about the terminology and the things for what are different. You might get that temperature here is 29 degrees, there will be 4 degrees. But to acclimatize yourself, you need some time, and that's the handholding time. So those are things are being discussion. Let's see, something must come out.
Okay. Super. With that, I'd actually like to open the floor because I know that there are participants and there may be questions. So I request the panelists to just stay and we'll just take a few questions. So anyone who wants to bring up a question, please feel free, open the mic. And
Hello. Can I speak?
yes, please go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Gurdeep Singh. मैं गुरदीप सिंह है मेरा नाम. I prefer to speak in Hindi. Is it okay?
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. I think it's
Because
okay. Yes.
हिंदी फकवाड़ा भी चल रहा है भारत सरकार का, तो मैं हिंदी में बोलना प्रेफर
ठीक है.
करूंगा. मैं इस सेमिनार का धन्यवाद करता हूं जो ऑर्गेनाइज किया गया. मेरा नाम गुरदीप सिंह है and we are from Simran Holiday. We are RA registered with the Ministry of External Affairs. मेरा एक सजेशन है कि जिस तरह मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टूरिज्म गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया अपने ऑफिसेस सब कंट्रीज में बनाए हुए हैं टू प्रमोट टूरिज्म, मैं बहुत से सरकार से ये रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि भाई जो सभी देशों में जैसे मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टूरिज्म को प्रमोट करने के लिए सारे देशों में और सारी एम्बेसीज के अंडर में जहाँ पे अलग से ऑफिस नहीं बनाया, वहाँ पे मिनिस्ट्री अपने वो एम्बेसी के अंदर उनका एक डेस्क है. सिमिलरली मोदी जी के सपने को पूरे, जैसे स्किल इंडिया जो हमने बनाना है कैपिटल को, इसी तरह ही एमईए का एक ऑफिसर डेडिकेट हो टू फेच द डिमांड्स. उन देशों से वो डिमांड लेके आए और हमें जो हमारे रजिस्टर्ड एजेंट्स हैं उनके साथ वो डिस्कस करे किनको देनी है. तो ये इनिशिएटिव इज रिक्वायर्ड टू ब्रिंग मोर डिमांड्स टू इंडिया on the pattern of Ministry of Tourism.
गुरदीप जी, आप हमारे साथ काम करें. आप किस तरह से हम लोग सहयोग कर पाएंगे? आपको एम्बेसी में जगह चाहिए, डेस्क चाहिए या रूम चाहिए? हम मिलकर वहां पे अपनी झंडा को फहरा देंगे, उसकी चिंता ना करें.
मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है, नहीं आप मेरी बात को समझिए. या तो एनएसडीसी से कोई बंदा वहां बैठे, एक ऑफिसर्स बैठे, या मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल में जैसे लेबर अटैचीज होते हैं वो वहां पे बैठे. वो डिमांड जैसे हम मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टूरिज्म को भारत को बेचने के लिए, टूरिज्म को बेचने के लिए ऑफिसर्स बैठता है डायरेक्टर लेवल का, ऐसे डायरेक्टर लेवल का ऑफिसर्स हो जो डिमांड को लेके आए और वो आरए में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करे. एक तो सवाल ये है क्योंकि मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर की एक अपनी साख है वहां पे, और उन जो कंपनीज को, वहां की जो कंपनीज को यदि रिक्वायरमेंट पड़ेगी तो भारत सरकार के पास आने के, भारत सरकार इंडिया में आने से अच्छा वो एम्बेसीज में मिल लेंगी, एक ऑफिसर्स के पास डिमांड रिकॉर्ड बन जाएगा। ठीक है सर। सेकंड मेरा इसमें सवाल ये है कि हमारे बच्चे स्किलिंग में उस स्टैंडर्ड को मैच नहीं कर पाते कई बार इंटरनेशनली, जैसे इशू आया डेनमार्क का, स्विट्जरलैंड का, कि हमारे जो बच्चे हैं उनके स्किल सेट पे ही नहीं है। तो हमारे जो इंटरनेशनल स्किल सेंटर्स बनाए हैं आप लोगों ने, रिकॉग्नाइज किए हैं, आप वो टेक्नोलॉजी, वो स्किल सेट्स, उनकी प्रैक्टिकल ट्रेनिंग्स और उनके जो सिलेबस हैं वो हम लोगों को दीजिए। हम अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट करके अपने ट्रेनिंग सेंटर्स पे वो फैसिलिटीज प्रोवाइड करेंगे और बच्चों को उस पर ट्रेनिंग देंगे। सिमिलरली आप ये कह सकते हो जैसे टीआईटीपी प्रोग्राम्स है, या आपने देखा होगा साउथ इंडिया के अंदर बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन अथॉरिटीज है सिंगापुर की, उनने अपना एक स्टैंडर्ड फिक्स किया हुआ है। आप तमिलनाडु से बच्चे लेते हैं ज्यादातर, वो आंध्र प्रदेश से बच्चे लेते हैं। तो सिमिलरली ये नॉर्थ इंडिया में भी और ईस्ट इंडिया में वो पैटर्न को सेम, क्योंकि वो सिंगापुर के पैटर्न पे, बीसीए के पैटर्न पे काम कर रहे हैं। तो हमारी
Okay, Gurdeep ji, let's also give दूसरे लोगों को a chance. We understand what you are bringing.
Please.
And I think, so let's also please give other people. I know Surbhi, you've put something out, and I suppose the panel can read it, but I'll just bring it also back to the panel, which Surbhi is actually asking when it comes to actual deployment certification and it being recognized in the destination country. This is a crucial step. And micro level mapping, which breaks it down to NSQF level corresponding job roles, may perhaps bring more clarity. How do we go about doing that for more countries, especially for newer market, given that it's very technical and time consuming? So this is really about qualifications mapping and equivalencies. And yes, it is time consuming. We've done this ourselves at the ILO as well. But we'll bring this back to the panel. But before we do that, perhaps if there's any other questions or comments from people in the audience.
Hi, this is Fauzuddin.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm from Tamil Nadu and I am a RA licensed by the Ministry of External Affairs. Our company is TIS Consultancy. I've been predominantly into placement of blue collar and entry level talent. And the biggest challenge we have is typically we have enough of requirement, at least for our, our team size. The challenge is to reach out to the right job seeker, reach out to the migrant. There is no platform or database from where we can do it with the, reach out to the right target, wherein we end up, leveraging a lot of middlemen, and, that's what has been practical. And what is International Center for Migration, how it is looking at this area, and how do you think there can be a solution in bridging between the ignorant, mostly exploited migrant and the right professional, ethical recruiters to ensure that there is a they get their share. The unserved category of the migrants who are in fact the bottom of the pyramid, and the bigger size who are actually in need of technological support, how can they be catered, and what could be the possible contribution from ICM, wherein private players like me are keen. I myself have evolved an idea to see how we can bring these job seekers on a platform. But there's a big job, and it's a big country. Let's probably see some scope. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that. Would any of the panelists, we only have a few minutes, I'm aware of the time. So would any of the panelists like to perhaps respond or just take the last minute, perhaps a few things, including responding to the question that Surbhi had raised? Any of the panelists would like to speak about it?
Sita, so
Yes.
when it comes to, I'm answering Surbhi's
Question. Yeah, go ahead, Bhavna.
I mean, while I'm not sure whether there is a need to map it to NSQF levels. Why is that necessary? If the mobility of the labor is, or the mobility of the workforce is happening under the under G2G or a B2B platform, because what happens, and this has been the experience, and I'm sure, when we were at NSDC, we started off with Australia and UAE and all these countries. Industry really is more bothered about the skill sets and the certification. And as was spoken earlier, they prefer to do the certification as per their standards, and they are more comfortable with what they do. And it's a lot of industry coming in. I believe Saudi Arabia is now coming in with a nationalized certification that they would like to do for a incoming migrant labor. And CI is pitching that, we will do the certification as per your skill sets. So let's not map our certification to them, but set up assessment centers which are their qualifications, so show that capability. Because I understand the need for the government to map the qualification, but that's a good exercise to do, but it just takes too long, and the need is more urgent for us Indians to get employment for Indians.
I would like someone else to also perhaps comment on this. Would Jaykant, you want to, what's your opinion on some of this?
So answer is agree and disagree both. There is a need, obviously, when we talk of one side, when we talk of standardization, we need a standard curriculum, we need NOS, we need NSQF, QP, everything. But at the same time, we need to map ourselves. And when we do mapping, either you do mapping, when we say a joint certification, now joint certification needs to have a basis. Either I'm skilled enough, I directly go take a test and get certified. But if somebody has to prepare themselves for that test, then you have to have some curriculum, some guidance available for which you may align yourself and prepare yourself. So, for a testing also, we need to have a common curriculum or the capabilities, which we say that what are the capabilities you are looking in a plumber, what are the capabilities or skill sets you are looking in a mason or electrician or a welder or a data entry operator. So some level of basic mapping is required, and this would be easy to do if we are able to identify country to country. Like if I have to do with Africa, I can focus on agriculture and IT. If I have to do with Middle East, we just talked about construction is something coming in a big way. Drivers are coming in a big way over there. So if I have to talk of Taiwan and other Korea, electronics is something where there is a huge opportunity. So some of the trades we can map which have high potential of migration opportunity, and we can start off from there and have a minimum certification level, joint certification level, and the curriculum identified, wherein we can do the NOS or the NSQF level mapping.
Amit, I'd like your opinion on this as well. You've come from a stage of not actually having any certification to a stage where now there is certification going on. What's your opinion?
Sure. So, certifications is a way that, a lot of the Western certifications rule the roost in the Middle East even today. Right. And there is no reason. I mean, I know that the NSDC has NSQF standards which are comparable. So as a people, as a nation, I understand the need for certifications and mapping. Definitely. I mean, in the future, I would like, to receive JD's job descriptions from my clients, from British clients, which are mapped to NSDC QPs. That's what we need to get to eventually. That's how they maintain their hold on the oil and gas industry. However, as a private sector enterprise, I'm more inclined to agree with Bhavna, which is that if employment is our focus and that's what the primary driver is, then what does the company, the employer want, is what we need to provide, and that is fairly well sort of answered through extensive assessment and trade testing centers. So I'm taking both sides here.
So Amit, I have got a
That's
question
fine.
for you. Amit, sorry, I've got a question for you. If you talk of the NOS or the QP, where does it come from? It comes from industry. It doesn't come from government. So when it comes to certification, you can't have both the things talking at the same time. You say NOS is yours, you have provided. When it comes to certification, you start disowning it. So we have to align our thoughts and our speeches and our mind together.
I'm actually agreeing with you, sir. But the problem, at least for the Middle East, is where we recruit 16 lakh Indians, is that the certifications belong to the West. And we
totally
aren't going to
agree.
get them very easily.
I totally agree that our certification or our curriculum should be the way of life but for that we have to start collaboration. If we start today aligning ourselves, mapping ourselves, tomorrow because of our numbers nobody can beat. Everywhere you can see Indian certificate. So other certificate visibility obviously will go down. But today we have to bring ourselves. We talked about marketing, right? We talked about awareness creation. So this is the model by which you can create awareness creation, and you have to rule the world.
I think this is what also helps with Brand India. But we have we don't have much time. We have one or two more questions still on the screen. There is a question from Tamil Nadu, which is asking that they're working with the UK NHS for nurses and radiographers. And they want to ask NSDC. So this question is to you, Mr. Singh. If I guess you can sponsor or identify skill requirement, training requirements. I'm not sure since there is no course available under the healthcare SSC or NSDC. But this is with the Nursing Council. So I think this goes back to the Nursing Council and is not actually under the NSDC. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, so any course which is covered under the MCI, Medical Council of India, or the Nursing Council of India, we have got no say. We can be on top of it. We can provide the cream on the top of it, or we can support the support staff below it.
Okay. And if we are out of time. If the panelists have any, last 30 seconds, I'd be happy to give you a last 30 seconds each one. Should we start with Mr. Bisht, your last 30 seconds, just in case you want to say anything? No? Let's just run. Bhavna, do you want to just go your last 20, 30 seconds?
I think I've said, but the recruitment and the migration is going to happen whether we support it or we don't. If we support it as a nation and build and invest a little bit in it, people like us and Amit will be able to expand. And also, I think the more critical agenda today is the employment or the unemployment level in the country. So we need to do this very urgently.
Yes, thanks. Mr. Singh?
Yeah, I would only say that keep organizing such so that we are able to spend some time talking to each other and coming out with more close collaborative ideas, so that working in pieces will not help. All fingers put together will bring the strength, and we can meet the end objective, which is the common objective for all of us.
Great. I think that's for ICM, but we are also, happy to collaborate if it means bringing people together. Amit, your last 20, 30 seconds.
Very, very interesting perspectives from all my co-panelists. Brilliantly moderated, Sita. Thank you so for the audience for such lovely questions. And thank you, ICM. I think this is required. Skilling and international placements is something we already need and will require in higher numbers over the years.
Thank you. Because I'm the moderator, I'm going to take the last minute for myself and then hand it back to Surabhi. But I'd just like to say it is very interesting. I of course have been involved in this space for a long time myself. I just think India has tremendous, tremendous potential. And as Mr. Singh said, it really is about us coming together a little bit more on this end. Right from the migrant right to the employer. It's the employer we need to tap into, but it's also the migrant we need to understand. And there's lots in between that happens as well. But I think we have all the pieces. It's just a matter of bringing some of this together and ensuring that somebody helps us to bring this together. So I'm very pleased that ICM does some of this, but it would also be quite important to do all of this. And I think Brand India is just ready. Our human resources are ready. We just need to keep moving and working with each other so that it moves faster, perhaps. And with that, I'd like to just hand back to Surabhi. Surabhi, do you want to? Sorry, did someone want to say something? No. Okay, back to Surabhi, please.
Thank you, Sita, and Thank you, as usual, efficiently moderating the discussion. I think we had a whole range of ideas which were very invigorating. We started with a snapshot of how the Western region is placed, and we went on to talk about how we need to build a brand, to build a narrative about the Indian workers, their competency and professionalism, and really the need to match, how to best match the demand with the supply. And NSDC has given us some hope on that by assuring that there is work already in progress under some of those lines. So we look forward to hosting more such discussions where we can take forward the discussion today on some of these points which have been raised towards the end of discussion. And thank you to the panel, which very nicely addressed the question about certification, because this is something that we also face challenge with when we think about how to look and map labor market assessments of newer countries. And suppose we know about sectors, like we know that healthcare is in demand, we know that logistics and IT solutions related jobs are in demand, but then how do we get to the actual business of bringing migrant to the fore and then enabling them to go out for some of these employment opportunities? And as this JS said in the beginning, that is what we are getting towards through all our efforts, is how to bring migrant to the fore. So thank you to each one of you for bringing such brilliant ideas to the discussion. And it has really given us food for thought to organize more such consultations. So before we close today, as we do in all our panel discussions, may I request everyone to turn on their cameras. We'll take a group snap before we close for the day.